All right, welcome back. This is season 2, episode 6 review. This is the Bros Watch the Boys. I am joined, as always, by my brother from the very same mother.
Hi there.
We're gonna jump right into it because we got a whole lot of ground to cover in this episode. Bro, holy giant tentacle appendages. This was crazy.
Don't be so close-minded, Tim. That's the lesson we should all take home from this episode.
Thank you, Frenchie.
As always, Frenchie is still my favorite character.
Yeah. And talking about Frenchie, we finally get some backstory about him this time.
We get so much juicy backstory for the whole series, the whole thing.
Right, yeah, and so not just with Frenchie, but kind of the backstory of like how kind of Butcher and I never remember her name.
Kimiko?
No. The
Mallory?
The Secret Service lady, Mallory. Yeah,
Mallory.
We kind of see their beginnings of working against the Supes, and how Frenchie got joined up.
We also see that Frenchie was killing Supes before he joined the FBI.
Yeah.
Mallory brought him that job because he had killed a few different Supes. So that's an interesting little...
Right, and he's a lot smarter than we really got before, right? He knows how to make essentially Xanax bombs to knock Supes out and then kill them. And so I thought that was kind of like we knew Frenchie had some skills, but now we find out that like he's basically a genius. Like he could create this stuff from scratch, essentially.
Yep, we see a lot about Frenchie. We see why the Lamplighter Frenchie episode was so...
We didn't get to the reveal yet.
I mean, it's the entire episode.
So. Okay, all right, we'll go ahead. We'll go ahead and do the reveal.
They told us that Lamplighter killed Mallory's grandchildren, right? Like we knew that, but no one really wanted to talk about it before now. Yeah.
But what they didn't tell us is that Lamplighter still is in existence and is at the Sage Grove place working for Stormfront. And so MM and Frenchie and Kimiko break in, and we find out that the Sage Grove is a testing facility where they're testing out a Compound V on adults and getting a wide range of results, none of which of them have been truly positive so far.
They've been getting a real girthy range of things.
Very girthy range, very long, extended range of results.
We see that it looks like they've taken over a mental facility, people that were already having mental illnesses, and they started dosing them with this updated Compound V, right?
Correct.
Because who's going to come looking for them? No one's going to go show up to this extreme, like, max security mental facility, wherever it is. I forget if they even said where it was, but it seems that Lamplighter is almost a slave there, and Stormfront is very interested in the project for something that they talk about at the end of the episode.
Mm-hmm. And I did think I'm going to take half credit for myself on my prediction for Sage Grove, because they were doing, it was kind of a little more nefarious than we originally thought. But we find out that there is at least one Supe there who can take Stormfront out like that, because she does, and the security guard goes splat all over the hallway. And this, if they said her name, I missed it.
I don't think they said anything about.
She can essentially crush anything she wants, just by closing her fist.
But she did get shocked by Stormfront. Stormfront definitely laid her out with that.
Yes.
Didn't kill her, but did immobilize her.
I mean, you can see why Stormfront would be worried about this one in particular. Because literally can just go like that and crush whatever, metal doors, security guards, whatever we got. So, sorry, folks.
Yeah, so we get Frenchie's backstory. We get a little bit of Lamplighter's backstory.
We get a lot of Lamplighter's backstory.
We get basically like a side... It felt like Butcher and Starlight and Huey were on a different planet, even though they were right outside of the facility, right? Like they had their own story, their own like little 5 minutes in this episode, whereas the rest of it was Mother's Milk, Kimiko, Frenchie, and Lamplighter adventures in the facility.
Sure. Yeah, sure. And I think you get to see again, the wide range of different soup abilities that are from Compound V. Probably the most memorable of which, and I called this when it broke through the window. The big fella that they seem to think is just packing heat. He was packing a whole lot of heat because it turns out that he can extend his PP very long and use it as essentially a well-oiled, well, that's not what I meant to say.
It's not oiled.
But a well-trained octopus tentacle, shall we?
Oh boy, yeah, it was. I was like scream laughing during that scene because I was like, "It's his dick! It's his dick!"
Yeah, that's exactly what I was doing.
So there are a few things that that I called seconds before they hacked into the episode. The lamplighter reveal, as soon as he was flicking his lighter, I was just like, and then about 5 seconds after, he burnt the one patient.
Yeah, and then we see kind of the whole lamplighter deal. We find out now, Frenchie's side backstory kind of. He was supposed to stop beef-tailing Lamplighter the night that he burned Mallory's grandkids, and had left to take care of his friend who OD'd, and then that was the whole thing. That's how Cherie tied into to Frenchie. So I did like kind of connecting those two dots. It wasn't just some random side piece that he went to hook up with. And the Lamplighter, I'm interested to see Mallory lets him live at the end. I want to know how they're going to use him, if they use him.
Yes.
And then we do see, at the end of the episode, we also see Crush the Tin Can lady walking down the street hitchhiking.
Yeah. So one thing I wanted to bring up was the way that they came together in this episode was really like a lot of tension, lots of like, they obviously wanted to kill each other, but they had such like a softening of attitudes when they were locked in the room together, when Frenchie was building his like Xanax bomb. It was a lot of like, everyone thought that the other person was terrible, right? And then you get this like, well, I didn't actually want to do what I had to do. So everybody came together, and I think he's actually going to be a pretty good tool going forward because he was part of the Seven at one time, and he definitely is going to have some dirt and some ways to fight back at Vought.
Yeah, and I think, when he was talking, this will be we'll just kind of wrap this up here on the Lamplighter part, but he does say, they made me burn all the evidence. And it seems like throughout the episode, he's super pissed at the Seven too, because he wasn't supposed. We find out that he wasn't targeting the kids. He was targeting Mallory herself. He didn't know the kids were supposed to be there. I'm assuming that's faulty info that probably Homelander or somebody else in the Seven gave him. and so I think going forward, he's going to be an integral piece because he knows the kind of beginnings of the Seven, more so than anybody else does.
Yep, and we got two soups now on the boys. Hopefully we got two of them working together.
Well, maybe three.
Yeah.
Starlight kind of has to go back and forth, but...
Yeah, that's kind of... I don't think she can operate as freely as Kimiko and Lamplighter right now.
Yeah. And so, definitely, that's something to look out for these next two episodes.
Also...
I can see maybe a kind of cliffhanger, episode 8, when we wrap up the season. Episode 8, something with him revealing something about the Seven. Cliffhanger for the next season.
I think... So something they mentioned in the episode is Starlight feeds off of power, right? She feeds off electricity, energy. Now, obviously, her and Stormfront together would be a pretty powerful combo, right? She might get I'm thinking she's going to get the Iron Man, like, you're at 500% energy, and she just blasts a hole in through Stormfront.
Yeah, that was a sneaky little... They kind of dropped that in there, and if you're not really paying attention, if you're not really thinking out in the grander scheme of things, but that's definitely going to play in, where she's going to get some kind of surge. Maybe even from Homelander, too, from his eye beams. I don't know if that's... I don't know if it's the same kind of power that she can channel, but... I feel like
that'd be different since it's a laser, but, like, the electricity, she very clearly could feed off of Stormfront, and maybe that would be... There's got to be a showdown at some point with that.
Absolutely. And speaking of Stormfront, we get her and Homelander I mean, we know
Yeah.
Homelander's jacked up in the head, right? So, for him to crush a man's skull and then immediately be like, I need to get it in right now, and
Yes.
for Stormfront to oblige by that. But then we kind of get Homelander gets pissed at Stormfront because she lies to him and says she's going to a meeting, and so we get his childish side comes out more, and then they don't, not. I think that was kind of much ado about nothing in the middle of the episode until.
Well, one thing you talked about him being childlike. He's still got that man-child, very immature. He kind of misconstrues the sex that he's having with Stormfront for like a lifelong passionate relationship. So he gets her these flowers, right?
Right.
Of course, she would hate the flowers, of course, but like he's a man-child, so he thinks that's gonna impress her, right?
Yeah, and then of course when she doesn't show up on time, he burns the trailer down.
Yes,
flowers and all.
It kind of looked like he burnt more than the trailer, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, at a minimum, his trailer.
Yeah.
So, well, before we get to the last big reveal that we kind of all knew was coming, we do get A-Train being recruited by the Deep.
Oh yeah.
And the funny David Miscavige person running the Church of what is it? I forget it again. They showed the name of it. It's the Church of Correctionism. I don't know what the hell.
Union or I can't even connectology.
But I did. They dropped a little funny bit in there for me at least. So while they're eating, you hear "Sail away, sail away, sail," and that little song playing, and I laughed out loud at that because if you know anything about the Church of Scientology and Ron L. Herbert, he fancied himself like a sea captain and would travel around on boats and stuff. And so I thought that was hilarious when they dropped that in there.
Yep, and they also had the hey, you want a Fresca, A-Train?
Yeah, the Fresca.
That's like their way in. What's in that Fresca?
And we find out too that A-Train's got a ton of debt, and so that and that now the Church. We do get the reveal that the Church is pretty well connected because they knew about his financial situation and his contract with Vought, and the fact that A-Train was trademarked and not his alone, and so. I think that's gonna. I don't think that's gonna pay off in the short term of the season, but I definitely see now that we know that they're for sure coming back for a third season. 100% that's gonna play in season 3.
Yep, absolutely. Also, was it like Demi Lovato singing at the end with the A-Train song? Was there it sounded like
I know it was the rap that they had showed earlier for his theme song. It was the same song.
It sounded like they got a popular pop singer to sing it, though.
They very well may have. I don't, I couldn't tell you who it was. But so then our last kind of big reveal.
Oh yeah, juicy.
We get Homelander comes and confronts Stormfront, and she breaks down and finally says that what we kind of knew all along. She was born in 1919. She married Frederick Vought. And had a child who then later died of Alzheimer's complications. And then she finally gives us the one that we all knew was coming, right?
The Nazi.
She's recruiting a race of white-only soups to take over the country / the world. She mentions hanging out with Himmler and Goebbels back in the day.
Yep.
And of course, Homelander looks as Aryan as you can look, and she says you're gonna be the guy who's gonna lead us into the future. So now, kind of all the things we thought where she was using him, and it kind of all comes to fruition. We kind of all saw that all along. I didn't think they were gonna make her go back as far as being Vought's original test subject / wife.
Yeah, that's an important point. Is that she is supposedly the first soup, as far as we know.
Right.
Which also makes sense why Soldier Boy would be in season 3, which we've been told.
Right.
So that's
so I do think they dropped that right at the end, so you don't obviously that's going to be the big lead in for the last 2 episodes of the season. Major talking points there. And then it makes sense why they have the test facility too. I don't remember seeing any minorities in that test facility when they showed it. So it makes sense as why she's recruiting. She's recruiting.
The guy with the giant schlong, though, right?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
But at any rate, she's got all the people they've been testing on have been kind of her whole white supremacist deal.
Yeah.
Anyway,
well, I would have expected them to not even care about that because like they're disposable test subjects, so why would they even bother?
Well, and I think it's a combination. I think it's both. I think both parts are right there, and I think she's gonna use her online followers. Remember, I keep going back to her 5 million soldiers. Once they get the V figured out, I think that's where she's going with it. Once they get the V stabilized for adults, they're gonna give it, to her followers basically.
Yeah, and this time she'll have actual soldiers because
right.
I mean, even in real reality, we have tons of neo-Nazis, KKK members that she would be able to draw from in that universe.
I am interested to see how they play the Edgar angle with her. Okay, because now we know, now she's out in the open as being, Nazi, white supremacist. Edgar ain't white.
But here's the thing. He may not know that her plan is not just to give it to everyone, it's to give it to only whites.
So it's definitely going to be interesting to see how they handle that angle, because that's kind of the one that's been dangled out, right? Like it's kind of assumed that Edgar brought her back into the Seven.
Yeah.
And so I'm interested to see where they go with that as far as her thoughts towards him if he knew that ahead of time, or if she just, sandbagged him the whole way. So, I think, anyway, I think if this episode was any indication, episodes 7 and 8 to wrap up this season are going to be just off the walls, bonkers, crazy, tons of, I think we're going to get a lot of reveals in the last 2 episodes, and of course I think we're going to get multiple cliffhangers leading into season 3.
Oh yeah, definitely. The one thing that I'm definitely sure of is we'll have some big cliffhanger. We already have stuff that needs to be answered, and I don't think it's going to get answered in the next 2 episodes. So, I mean, I'm all for it. Just keep making episodes. Just keep making seasons as long as the story needs to. If it's 6 seasons, if it's 20 seasons, I don't care. Just whatever the story needs.
Right.
I'm in for it. I'm here for it.
And before we go, I'd be remiss if we didn't talk about, we did get news yesterday broke that Amazon's planning a spin-off of The Boys, kind of a college, how Supes go to college, but the college is run by Vought type deal. I know we talked about this yesterday. You don't like it. I love it. I think it's got a lot of potential.
I mean, if it's written by the same people, I'm okay, but it just seems like it would be... It seems like you would make more of a parody type thing of this instead of in the same universe. It just doesn't seem like it would work with the same formula.
Yeah, and my whole point was that, we know that Vought has the sponsored pageants and stuff once they identify who is a Supe. So to me, this is just an extension of that, right? And it's not going to be, if I was them, and this is how I see it as a fan, and this is how I would write it if I was writing it, it's not going to be like high-powered Supes, right? Because they're being recruited and sent to cities or sent to different countries, or they're joining the Seven or whatever. They're in the Vought pipeline. So it's going to be kind of like lower-tier Supes. And I think that has a lot of funny implications as far as people with powers that are just kind of crazy.
Yeah, it's going to be Supes that can extend their fingers a few extra inches or can force water to boil immediately. It's not going to be something crazy.
Yeah, it's going to be weird, and I think it could definitely be more of a comedy type series than not that The Boys is super serious, but I think it could be more of maybe shorter episodes. Give me more of a comedy dynamic for that show.
Yeah, I think that's I have faith if they did they greenlight it, or is it just being talked about?
I mean, it was announced. Yeah, it was announced that they're spinning it off.
So, assuming they have the same people that are working on this, possibly the same producers, I have faith in the studio and I have faith in the writers. So, we'll see. Any idea? If they're just now announcing, it's probably going to be a year before it even comes out.
Yeah, it's going to be a while, especially with the shutdown with the virus and everything for filming.
Yeah.
So. But all right, that wraps us up. Season 2, episode 6 review. This has been the Bros Watch the Boys. Rate, and subscribe down here. Check out the Sipping Around podcast too here on the same Sipping Around channel. I don't know. We'll see. I got kind of hung up on the sipping around scheduling and stuff, so we'll see. I'll try and get one out. I don't know, soon. We'll see when the next one comes out. But make sure you follow us along. You can jump on Twitter and hit me up. I always post episodes on there too, so feel free to leave us a comment or on the video or whatever. Get me through Twitter, and we'll see everybody next time. We're out.
Bye bye.